Hi guys, it's Harriet. Welcome back to my channel. Hit subscribe, please. And if anyone that's new here, I'm Harriet Harper. I'm a female fitness coach. And I recently started my YouTube to chat over a lot of topics, fitness, lifestyle. There's some fashion thrown in there. But the other week I did a video with my very good friend and one of my coaches on my one-to-one coaching, Chris, who is a clinical nutritionist, and I wanted to do another video with him chatting over something that has taken over the world, it seemed, and that is Ozempic. And I just wanted to get all the facts, learn as much as we could about it in a quick video for anyone it might help or for anyone who's even interested to watch. So let's get to it. This is going to be an epic chat because it is the word at the tip of everyone's tongue, Ozempic. We are going to discuss with Chris what it is, what it does, what are the risks, why has it become so fucking mainstream. And I thought this was a really important video to do just to get the facts out there, as I am a coach, as I coach women, and even I have noticed a lot more people in the fitness industry taking it. So as I said, if you are new here, please subscribe, hit the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And we're gonna get straight into it. Let me get comfy. Ozempic, what essentially is it? We all know it, it's the magic weight loss pill, but what does it do?
So I think it was originally used in type 2 diabetics. It's a GLP-1 agonist, which essentially means it works to help increase your sort of insulin secretion, which can help lower blood sugar levels. It also works to delay gastric emptying, which will have the effect of promoting satiety, and it just works to regulate your appetite. So it basically makes you feel full quicker, or helps keep you satiated.
I've heard it makes you feel full very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the most common side effect of usage is sort of nausea and sort of feeling sick.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the times people take it, they basically assume, well, they stay with their current diet. So if they've been eating badly, obviously we hope to assume that they were very overweight to be taking something like semaglutide. They then try and eat their normal diet and realise, two mouthfuls in, that they're like, oh, I can't eat anymore. So it's it works pretty drastically to control appetite.
Do you think that changes the enjoyment of food? For me, it's not that I enjoy getting super, super full, but I enjoy going out for dinner and having a nice meal. I think everyone does.
I mean, from what I've read on it and the interviews I've seen with people who have taken it, most of them do say it sort of removes the enjoyment out of food. But I also think it depends on the person and why they were potentially overeating, right?
Yeah.
I guess if it was sort of more of a sort of self-medication, it can really change their relationship with the way they look at food. So therefore, maybe it's a positive, and maybe it will, I think if you've got a good relationship with food, then the enjoyment of food is sort of in moderation. So you enjoy maybe feeling a little bit more satiated after a dinner. But the idea of suddenly, taking an injection and then being like 2 bites in and being like, it's kind of doesn't really sort of whet my appetite. But
And it has, as we know, become so mainstream. Celebrities have admitted they've been on it. Celebrities that haven't admitted they've been on it, you can tell they're on it. For me, it's the arms.
Okay.
You're not. I know every woman's caught up about having fat arm, but I just notice on so many celebrities there's nothing.
Where it all goes.
All gone. But we know that's for a lot of the kind of celebrity culture taking it. Some of it, fine. They wanted to lose fat. Some of them is other reasons.
Yeah.
Why? it's obviously dangerous that it has become so mainstream like that, but what do you think, who's it for? Who should be taking it and who should be fucking ignoring it?
Honestly, the only people, like, I think it should be only given out through prescription at a sort of in-person doctor, so that they are sort of trained to also spot potential eating disorders. And it should be for morbidly obese or obese individuals who have, already tried sort of the more natural approach and clearly failed. I think it should be used as a sort of, not last line of attack, but, it's got to be for someone who really, the risk, you always do a cost-risk ratio, as it were. So do the benefits outweigh the risks of that person taking it? So we know the negative health impacts of being obese in terms of like increasing your mortality rates. So at that point, if you are overweight and you are morbidly obese, the pros of taking it probably clearly outweigh the risks involved. So I would say, like, for that population, yes, it can be like super important. Now you've got to think of, like, all right, nausea and sort of bloating and stomach discomfort, it's not the end of the world really, but then you have sort of more sort of nefarious ones, like sort of pancreatitis, gallbladder issues. You've got sort of, I read a case about where their sort of bowel became paralyzed, so that they basically had continuous diarrhea. You've got an increased risk of potentially thyroid cancer. So there are some serious negative, like, risk factors associated with it. So for Gen Pop, who just has a little bit of maybe chub to lose, I would not recommend it. Absolutely not. But for someone who is, the problem when you get, the more overweight you get, quite often the more sort of metabolic sort of dysfunction is there. So you have sort of higher leptin levels, higher insulin levels. It's not harder to lose weight, but you've got a lot of hormonal drivers that are sort of trying to keep you at a higher sort of body fat set point. So we would say that, Ozempic would really come in there to really help sort of almost reset their sort of system. The problem is you have to, essentially, the research is quite clear. It works. And most people who take, like, I think it's 0.25 milligrams or whatever, once a week injections, they lose like 15-20% of their body weight. So it really works. But if they stop taking it, then they put all the weight back on. So you've either got to go, you're going to be on it for life, or you've got to be like, if we're not, I think it also should be prescribed with, you have a sort of nutritionist and a personal trainer or whatever alongside it, so that they
I think
correcting
if you
your
learn,
lifestyle.
If you take on the healthy habits that come with fat loss, and you keep those healthy habits, we got in an Uber and we were talking about it, and the Uber driver turned around and was like, "Oh, you're talking about Ozempic?" And he was like, "I'm on it." We were like, "Oh," he was like, "I've lost a huge amount of weight." He was like, "It's changed my life," and we were like in what way? He's like, "I can now just go for a walk." And he's like, "I really enjoy walking." And we were just like, now that you're moving, you were someone who was obese and you didn't move, you didn't get outside, you didn't go for walks, like, you just didn't move. And for him, he's adapted that habit, so maybe he'll then start enjoying exercise, and that will lead to, okay, I want to clean up my diet a bit. And if you can take those habits forward,
I think the ideal scenario of Ozempic is you use it to help kickstart that weight loss journey, but you pick up all the healthy habits in terms of like sleep, training, activity levels, nutrition, along with it, and therefore you can come off of it. I think for most people, the problem is, I think why it's become so sort of rife is it's a quick fix for a lot of people, and people are looking for a quick fix. So I think there is a problem there, and that's why I stick to sort of going like, I would only sort of have a discussion with someone who was very overweight, and we had tried for a decent amount of time to really shift their sort of habits.
I think if getting fit, exercising in general is a struggle for you, if you can reduce that struggle,
Yeah.
and if it's going to, help your life in for health reasons.
I think there's also a
Yeah.
risk of and this might be a sort of future problem we're facing, where you have a lot of people who've been taking it, and bear in mind, if you're not eating enough, so you're not eating enough protein and you're not resistance training alongside it, your muscle loss will be huge, and therefore your risk of things like sarcopenia, osteoporosis go way up. So you might end up with a sort of generation in the future of just, we're less able-bodied than our grandparents before us, because people have been using it as a quick fix, losing the weight. But when we help people with weight loss, the idea is maximal sort of retention of muscle mass, if not improvements on it, because we know that for the benefits of longevity and health and sort of being able-bodied for as long as possible. So with Ozempic, sort of sapping your appetite, probably not getting enough protein, so you're more than likely going catabolic, so using up or losing muscle mass. And then, if they're not resistance training alongside it, that is just increased. And even things like bone density go down. And then we know the risk factor of sort of, after the age of 60, 70, if you break your hip, the mortality rate for just breaking your hip is extreme. So it's kind of again, it should be used with caution in the right population and under the right controls. The problem you've got is celebrities taking it, and then people being like, "Oh, I want to."
And I think the problem is you could literally make a phone call and get it.
Yeah.
I think what you said about it assigned with a nutritionist or a personal trainer, even something to help your mindset, is a good idea. But that will never happen.
Yeah, I do my opinion's changed on it a bit over the sort of last few months as I've read up on it, where I think my knee-jerk reaction was lazy, fat, I don't know how much I can swear on this channel. So.
Sorry.
So that was my knee-jerk reaction, but actually the more you read up on how it can really help benefit certain populations, and actually everything has risks to it. So again, that risk benefit sort of, you weigh up the cost. It's changed my opinion on the benefits, and actually it's still so early in its in its infancy. So I think semaglutide or Wegovy is 3rd generation. So they're already coming out with 4th and 5th generation drugs where they're more advanced and with fewer side effects. So you might see in the case of and the same thing happened with blood pressure medication and statins and stuff like that, where they're on 8th generation now and the side effects are well down. So I think, in 10 years time, it could be a case of it's an easier sort of thing to use because it has less risk factors. But again, I think nothing will ever sort of, the pharmacological route probably can only get us so far, so you will still need the basics. So that's why it's always well, regardless, you should be resistance training. Regardless, you should be eating nutritious diet. Because whilst Ozempic might reduce your appetite, it's not making sure you're getting all the sort of micronutrients and macronutrients your body needs. But I do think we've created an issue in society, as it were, where most of our diet is ultra-processed foods, leading to overconsumption, leading to obesity. So we solved a problem of sort of world hunger and starvation with the amazing innovation of different food practices. But by solving that problem, we sort of created another one, have led through to obesity. So maybe, semaglutide and stuff like that, and the advances in it will be helping solve a problem we probably created as a society. But I can't see ultra-processed foods going away anytime soon. So it's kind of yes, I think there's a lot of benefit there. Would I rather people learned about better nutrition and through education?
That's what I was just about to say. It's why I love my job, and why you love your job, and why you wrote a book on it. our goal is, before anything like fixes that, I don't know enough about Ozempic. I would never recommend it to anyone, or even have these discussions without someone who's highly researched it. But it's great to learn more. But what I do know about is resistance training and improving your mindset and improving your nutrition. And once teaching people is probably the most rewarding job you could ever do, because when you kind of teach someone about these factors and they improve their life from learning about it, not just their physique, their life and their mindset and their habits, everything moving forward changes. And that to me is the most rewarding fact. But there's only so far you can go with that. Like you said, there may be some people that we can't help, and that's when more serious things can come into it as an option.
Yeah.
But it's not to be taken lightly.
No, exactly. I think you should always know the sort of risks before you get into anything and weigh up, as I said, the cost to risk factor. But I do think, yeah, I mean, education should always come first, and it should be like the case of, like, in an ideal world, we wouldn't have these drugs because we wouldn't need them. Unfortunately, that's not the case. You know, I might be able to eat a balanced diet with a bit of ultra-processed foods thrown in, but for a lot of people, it's kind of like, well, the growing obesity epidemic shows that most people aren't able to do that. So, you know, the ideal world is not a realistic world, I guess. So that's where things like Ozempic come in, and I think that's where, at the same point, I see the benefits of the pharmacological route progressing, because then hopefully more and more people can get helped to start their journey. You've got to understand that ultra-processed foods, whilst, like, you know, I don't demonize them, they have basically been able to sort of, we've always sort of, like, we have the body fat set point theory, right, which basically says, like, our body likes to maintain a sort of normal weight, or our normal weight. So you might overindulge for a little bit, and then it will sort of reduce your appetite and you'll come back down, and then you might undereat for a bit and it will reduce your appetite, or increase your appetite, and you'll come back up. Ultra-processed foods are sort of, they work in a way that sort of resets your body fat set point, because you're not sensing those satiety signals. So it's kind of like, a lot is to blame through ultra-processed foods, and we have this, you know, generation of people who are just over-consuming with ease. And, you know, unfortunately, bad habits.
It is wild how much more you can eat when you have.
When people are like, oh,
a
that's...
takeaway or a pizza, or like a pack of biscuits.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most common things that, especially like when I set up clients on your program, it's kind of like, that's a lot of food. I'm like, oh, it's not. It's just when you eat from, you know, more sort of single ingredient foods. 2,000 calories from like fucking steak and broccoli is a lot of food.
Like,
but from, like, you know, crisps and chips,
exactly.
it's fuck all.
Yeah, I had a pack of biscuits in the house the other day that someone gave me. Like, I can't keep shit like that in the house, because it's never one, and it's absolutely fine to eat the whole pack of biscuits. But if every time I ran out, bought more biscuits, it would be a new bag every day. And I personally, I don't love how I feel when I eat ultra high processed foods. I always try to just keep whole foods in the fridge and make something myself, and that's just me. I've always been like that. I've been raised like that. That's not just because I work in the fitness industry. But it's so easy, because it's so delicious, but it is absolutely fine to have in moderation. But like you said, it's made very simple for people to access it, very easy, very cheaply. And that leads to overconsumption. Yeah,
I mean, the cost and the availability, right? Yeah. You can just sit here and order something to your door without moving. So it's like, we're not even, we've made everything a bit more convenient at the cost of our waistlines.
It's like they wanted it.
Yeah.
Almost.
As the conspiracy theorists come out here.
Well, thanks, Chris. Hoping that's been a useful discussion for those who wanted to hear it. Not us promoting it, not even our opinions. This is why I've got a clinical dietitian on here to talk about it, because he knows all the facts and has done a lot of research on it. So thank you so much, Chris.
Pleasure.
for joining us. And don't forget to hit subscribe, and we'll be back with another video soon.